This is Cas for the Nora, and you're watching the Chat with Chaps live show.
Good evening and welcome to the Chat with Chaps Midweek live show. I'm your host, Joe Zampa, and today I'm joined by two fantastic guests. And on the screen, you can see we've got the one and only Disco Steve. You'll never believe, guys, the commotion that's gone on for the last 5 minutes that only me and our other guests saw. And I look at him now, he's cool as a cucumber. You know, I tell you what, he literally just put that shirt on about 2 seconds ago. So, Disco, how you doing, mate? You good?
I'm good, thanks, Joe. I'm like a swan, you see. On the surface, I'm elegant, graceful, all calm. Underneath, my legs are going like bloody Billy O to keep me straight. So,
I bet they're still going now, aren't they? I can see the desk shaking.
Yes. Oh, sorry, was that me? Sorry about that. You joined too early.
No,
good evening, Joe. Good evening, everybody. Good to be here.
It's been a while, Disco. Good to have you on. And then next to yourself, a guy that doesn't need any introduction, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Senior sports journalist for the Daily Mail, specialising in football coverage, predominantly more with the English Football League. The one and only Dan Marsh. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, all good. Cheers, Joe. Good to be here. Thanks, mate. You good?
Yes, I'm good, mate. I was going to say to you, you also contributed quite heavily towards the South London Press over the years, haven't you? Doing lots of work for them as well. And I'm sure a lot of guys in the chat here would know that unfortunately they've now folded as a company, as a business. You know, and it's the nature of a lot of newspapers, sadly, at the moment. But I'd love to get a few words from you, Dan, about the Southern Press and what they've been like as a company, as an organisation.
Yeah, I've got no qualms about it. Like without the South London Press, I definitely wouldn't be doing what I was doing. You know, everyone knows I'm sort of close with Rich Cooley as well. You know, he sort of went out of his way to give me advice when I was looking to change careers and gave me a chance to sort of cover games for the SLP. Primarily it was Wimbledon, and then for my sins I was able to do a few Millwall games. But yeah, it's really sad news. Like it's difficult. Like journalism is like changing all the time, and obviously digital and stuff like that. And you know, it's just a shame. It's like even on a personal level, like not even obviously there's that element for me, but I remember sort of picking up the SLP at sort of Welling train station before a game to look at like the transfer bits or the interviews and stuff like when I was younger. So it's a real shame that as a brand it's not going to be around anymore. You know, I'm sure, you know, everyone watching or listening, whatever, will sort of agree with me when I say that. I think, you know, definitely over sort of like the last 5, 6, maybe longer years, you know, it's been the number one, hasn't it, for news, sort of exclusive stuff, transfer stuff, features and stuff. So, yeah, it's really sad. I'm glad that Rich is going to still be doing his thing. It's a shame about the name. It looks like, obviously, on his Substack, he's going to be writing about Charlton, but as I'm sure everyone saw today with a couple of his tweets, he's still going to be covering us and stuff. So, yeah, you know, shameless plug. If you can feel free to go over and have a look and, you know, support someone who does a lot of good stuff for us as a fan base, and I'm sure will keep us all sort of informed over the summer.
Absolutely, and I'm sure, you know, like many of our listeners here, the South London Press has played a big part in. Oh, we've got a latecomer coming onto the stage. Just welcome. Old Chris Chapman. How you doing, Chris? You all right?
Hey!
Evening, lads. Yeah, I thought I'd surprise you for a bit. How are we doing?
Yeah. Right? Nice of you to come and make an effort.
Oh, here we go.
That's a hat trick. Does he get the hat trick ball? That's 3 weeks of a trot now, isn't it?
I know.
Well done, Chris. New leaf you turn over, Disco, eh? How you doing, Chris? You good?
He has.
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I just thought I'd come and join you and see you. Obviously, do some pull-ups in a minute. I'm sure.
That's I've got my bondage gear for my birthday.
Hope the missus knows. Hope the missus.
Whips and
Joe's
chains and all
dungeon.
sorts going on down there. Exactly, Joe's dungeon. Mate, we're just talking about Southern Press, Chris. Dan talked about his time working with them and how they gave him a platform to sort of do bigger things, obviously with the Daily Mirror. Myself, before social media come along, I'm only 27 years old, but even so, like the Southern Press was a big part of me getting news about Millwall growing up. You couldn't go to Twitter, you couldn't go to Instagram and whatever to learn. So for me, it's like, every week, look at the newspaper. You go straight to the back pages. What's going on with Millwall? Any news on players, etc. It was a big part of my youth growing up, really. I don't know how you feel about it. Did Southern Press play a big part in you and growing up and learning about Millwall and stuff like that?
It did, mate. I mean, I think the big difference between you and I, other than age, is obviously I can read. So I don't know. Obviously, you looked at the pictures on South London Press. But
I used to cut the pictures out and put it in my scrapbook. It's like kissing Alex Ray and things like that. Yeah, it's weird.
Alex Ray, what a guy. We should get him on the show. Yeah. No, I think it is sad, and obviously I feel for those that have been affected by that as well. But I also think that on top of all the things you said around the nostalgia, right, of going on a Tuesday and a Friday to go and buy that paper and see, as you said before, social media, or what players we're interested in buying, or what players are leaving, or that was how we found out, right? It's crazy how things have developed, and I'll always remember that. And I also, that they sponsored our shirt, right, for a season, if you remember, wasn't the greatest season in the world, but they did. So, and personally, and listen, I'm only 23, but I mean, I look at the world now, and to me, this is all what's wrong with the world. Like things like South London Press that are going out of business or whatever, however you want to phrase it.
True.
Because of the way that the world is changing with technology and all sort of things like that. So, I don't know. I really feel for those involved, and obviously, it's great to see that Richard. Mr. Cooley is doing something right on his own, so it'd be interesting to see how that sparks up. And that's my 2 cents on it.
Lovely, cheers for Chris. And disco. I mean, go back in your day, they sold like carrier pigeons, didn't they? And letters in a bottle to give you news about Millwall. I'm sure. What's your thoughts on the Southern Press? And did they play a big part in your time in the early 50s and 60s? Were they around back then?
Do you know? I've had a day of ageism jokes today. I've been at our national sales meeting, and just to let you into a little secret, we're going to start selling takis. Do you know takis crisps, the tortillas? Takis? Oh right, okay, yeah.
Oh
yeah. So we're going to start selling those. And the guy who came to present it, I tasted one of them. One of them is really fiery, the Fuego, a really hot one. And I said, cool, blimey, that's a bit lively. And he said, well, luckily, you're not the target audience.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. So,
I mean,
that was a good start.
Disco,
you just throwing the age bomb in.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you there. I was going to say, Disco, one thing I've got to say is Disco is a bloody good looking chap, I tell you. In person, you look about 30 years younger than you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what
the camera never lies, Chris. The camera never lies.
Get you promoting old Disco's salt and vinegar crisps. That would be a charm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it still done by
wanting me to no, thank you for that, Chris. That's a very nice comment, but I'm lucky I've still got a decent head of hair for my age. That's probably what gets me away, and I don't colour it as your original colour accuse me of. It is going greyer and greyer actually by the day. I'm catching you up, Chris. It's the in thing, but yeah, so I've had that today. But no, look, the SLP was massive for me, as you say. Picking it up on a Tuesday and a Friday was, all just straight to the back page. Forget the front page headline. It was all about Millwall on the back page. So it's very sad to see it go. But I think, as you've said, Chris, it's the modern, sadly, for the likes of Dan in the media world, the magazines and papers are dying, and it's all going online. One little thing, talking about snacks, actually, I was very fortunate the SLP was where I saw the job advertisement for my first job in the snacks business as a
Why?
van salesman for KP Crisps back in 1985. And got the job in Peckham Depot, and the rest is history. Here I am, 40 odd years later, still in the business. So thank you, SLP, for that.
There you go. Nice one, Disco. Cheers for sharing that with us. Guys, we'll go to the chat very, very quickly to say hello to who's waiting. But before we do that, a quick run through tonight's agenda. So we're going to do it. We're umming and ahhing about before we know what solid we're going to do. We're going to talk about the potential Millwall takeover. We're going to discuss the Wolves transfer interest in a Millwall player. Could Zack Sturge be a good signing for us? We're going to talk about the backup goalkeeper situation. Obviously, there's a little bit of uncertainty there with the future of one of our goalkeepers. Kit discussions. This is one that Disco wanted to chuck in. So we'll have this conversation, retro versus modern. There you go. There's a topic for discussion.
That's why Chris has come on. He's a kit man as well. He likes.
He loves the Chris loves the kit. Loves the Chris. And then we're going to end off with the pre-season friendly. So before we do that, let's go to the chat very quickly. Sorry to keep you waiting there, guys. First through the door is, oh my God, would you believe it? It's only bloody Alex S. No. Alex, I'm impressed, mate. Jesus Christ. You know what it is? It's the earlier time. Croatia Street doesn't start till it's at 8 o'clock. That's probably why he's there early doors. Good for you to join us, Alex. Matt Richards, hope you're well, mate. Hope you're good. Lewis, how are you, mate? Love that profile picture, Lewis. Absolutely love that profile picture. David, how are you? Hope you're well. Chris Brown, evening. Ben DeViva, how are you, mate? Connor, good to see you. Alex. GB404, nice to have you join us, mate. Friend of the show, Jeff Chandler, evening. How are you, guys? How are you, mate? Oscan, how are you? Hope you're well. Billy Smith, good to have you. Johnny, good to have you. Mark Murphy, friend of the show. Evening, the Sicilian is looking good today. That's actually Dan. That's Dan. It's not Angelo, Dan. I was wondering, God, Angelo's looking really well. He looks a bit younger.
Angelo's son.
He's got a nice glow today, yeah. Dave Turner, hello, gang. I hope as well. Just quick thought. As unaffected by the 8th anniversary of London Bridge Territory. Absolutely.
Wow. Right.
Cheers for mentioning that, David. Also, guys, before I forget, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this show as well, because it all helps with the algorithms. It helps us get more coverage and grows to a wider audience, which kind of helps generate more money for charity, which is what we're here for at the end of the day. Hughesy, good evening, mates. The lovely Rosalind. How are you, Rosalind? Hola, how are you?
Hola.
Billy, Joe, you, Disco, and Ben sat in front of me, and my daughter pressed away in February. Okay, I don't know. Was that Preston away? I don't know if I went to that one, actually.
Yeah, it was Jeff. It was my mate Jeff, wasn't it? Jeff Cook. I think.
Hang a minute.
He's only about
Jeff looks
20 years old.
Jeff looks older than Chris.
Yeah, it was
cheers,
Jeff.
Billy.
I think Billy said he was going to say hello at Sheffield United as well, and didn't see you, Billy, but hopefully see you in the new season.
Make sure if you see him, just shout out Disco. GC London. hope you're well, mate. Jesper, evening from Copenhagen. How are you, mate? All good. I think we're pretty much there. Have to sell this pitch yet. Thank you, Dan. Sad news about the SLP. Yeah, cheers for those words there, Dan. Good to see the Woman and Joe in the panel tonight. Oh my God, you're going to do some push-ups while you're streaming. Okay, guys, I'm going to try. Oh, there you go. It's nice one there for Chris. Yes,
Chris, is that the challenge, Joe? If we get to 2,000 subs, you'll go and do some push-ups on your S&M machine.
Yes,
behind you.
2,000. Oh, how far away from 2,000, Chris?
We are about 50. We're not far. We're not far at all, lads.
There you go.
We really are.
Right. Okay. There you go.
2K, he'll do the pull-ups and he'll do the OnlyFans as well, Billy.
My wife's in for a treat with Joe and Chap. She loves you both. Just asked, do you have OnlyFans? I'm sure Chris has a secret channel.
I've got a few, yeah.
I bet he has. Exactly. Guys, I love these comments, but we need to move forward on the show. So please forgive me for just literally, there's about another 30 coming through here. I'm really sorry, guys.
Your goal made the cut.
It has. Evening, guys. Evening. Love you, have you. Nick Callahan, back in the UK, fucking freezing.
Yeah,
Nick spends more time. Yeah. Nick spends more time abroad than Chris does. He's the only person I know that goes on more holidays than Chris does, and that takes some beating. Trust me, Nick. Well done, mate. Right,
Nick's a legend. Nick's a legend.
Here we are. So guys, first subject I want to talk about is the potential Millwall takeover. Guys, I'm pretty sure you saw Saudi billionaire Turki Al-Sheikh. Is that his name? Is that how you say it properly? Is reportedly eyeing either Millwall or Southampton for a takeover. A lot of people are led to believe that Millwall are the favourites. He's been engaging with Millwall on Instagram, putting like emojis, fire emojis, lion emojis, sending all the messages out our way. Obviously, at the moment, the club denies any active sale discussions. They're saying we're not for sale. But then former Palace owner Simon Jordan comes out and says that he's had a conversation with Al-Sheikh and he's definitely interested in a southern club, potentially Millwall. So start with yourself, Chris, while you're there. Just want to get your thoughts, really. I mean, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And what would that takeover mean to Millwall's identity and the club culture, in your opinion?
Well, here's a question. Look, I think first and foremost, it's not every day that you get linked with this, right? So I think what happened was people just excited by it, right? Even probably before processing what it would mean for Millwall, people were like, oh my God, especially if you're affiliated with boxing, you kind of know this guy is and what he's done for the sport, whether you like it or not, or whatever, right? But my personal take is that I believe we are a very unique club. And I firmly believe that we have a specific identity, and I think that the Berylson family, and I say the Berylson family because obviously the late great John Berylson have bought into that, and that is very rare in football. And for me personally, I would prefer to stick with the Berylsons. I think they've been phenomenal for us. I think that they have pumped money in. Let's be honest. What other than some hope for potential future gain, what do they owe us? Nothing, right? Let's be real. And 10 to 15 million every single year. And if it wasn't for them, where would we be? So whilst a lot of people get really excited, and I understand that excitement by a Saudi multi-billionaire that comes in, I, for one, think that when you curb that excitement and that change, the Berylsons have been very good to us. I really hope the new model works, that they can claim some money back, if I'm honest, because they deserve it. And I think it's an exciting thought, but actually sometimes the devil you better know, or whatever the phrase is. And I personally would like Mr. Berylson Jr. to stay with us. Of course, we would be naive to think that we don't have a price. Everyone has a price. Everything has a price, right? So I'm sure that whilst at the moment, there's nothing more to read in on it. I think Richard Cooley's come out and said that everyone has a price. It's the same with footballers, and we'll talk about Mihailo later, right? Yeah, in terms of that. So it'd be interesting to see how it develops. But I, for one, like where we are. I think we're going in the right trajectory, and I just thank the Berylson family immensely for what they've done.
Yeah, amazing. Cheers, Chris. Appreciate your words of wisdom there. Dan, we'll come to you next and get your thoughts on that. The fan base seems quite split at the moment. Some are for, some are against. I'd love to get your thoughts on this scenario and as a discussion, where does your mind sort of like lie on this? And are you kind of for or against the idea? And will it, in your opinion, affect the culture of the club if we were to sell to a Saudi billionaire like Turkey? Whatever his name is, Al-Sheikh.
Yeah, I think Chris summarised it pretty well. My viewpoint would be similar to his. I think it's understandable why some people, especially fans on social media, were sort of getting excited about it. Like it's sort of like a big towel, isn't it, sort of thing. But I think when you sit and you think about it in a cold light of day and the realities and stuff like that, I think we're in quite a nice spot as it is. You talk about the future. What are the goals for the future? Is it to be an established Championship club, established Premier League club? Like, I look at clubs in the Premier League who, outside of that top 6, 7, 8 teams, and probably a bad year to use an example because Palace won the cup and that, but really you're effectively playing for one of those spots in the lower table. Gloss probably wears off quite quickly. I'm quite happy where we are. I think like Chris said, the Berylsons have done a really, really good job. The Berylson family, first John, and obviously the family now carrying it on after his passing. I think it'd be quite sad when the day comes, and I think the day will come, as Chris rightly alludes to. Just like everything in life, everything's got a price, and that will be the same with this. Whether it's Turkey, whether it's someone else one day, you would assume the Berylsons are not going to be here forever. There will be a sort of end game in mind. But I think that'll be a really sad day when that time comes. As Chris said, they've done right by us. They're good owners. They pump obscene amounts of money in. We're competitive without being silly. The culture change, I think possibly. I think football as a whole is sort of changing. Millwall has changed over the last few years. I think to an extent that's unavoidable, and will keep happening whether or not a Saudi billionaire takes us over or not. But I think outside of the culture thing, it's easy to be sort of seduced almost by big numbers and we can do this in the transfer market and stuff. But other clubs have thrown money at it, and look at Sheffield Wednesday this week. The owner's not paid the wages. He's been there a long time. I'm sure they, off the top of my head, I don't know their ins and outs transfer wise, but they were in and around it for a few years before, and you just can't tell someone's motives. How he fancies us at the minute. You've got to look beyond the money, and I think, as Chris rightly said, we know the Berylsons were in a good spot. I think with any sort of change of power, there's always a bit of the unknown, which can be good and bad. But I'd lean at the minute. I think we're in a good spot. I'd like us to sort of stay, and by the sounds of it, the Berylsons do too, and they're looking forward to what we can do this season. So, hopefully. I think at the minute that's sort of as far as it goes, but it'd be interesting in the future. Like Chris rightly says, everything's got a price, and there will come a time where we'll have this conversation, whether it's Turkey or someone else. But I'm quite happy to kick that conversation down the road, I think.
Nice one. Cheers for that, Dan. Disco, both Chris and Dan are feeling they're quite happy with the now. They're happy with the module. They're happy with the progress the club have made. Are you in agreement with them? Do you feel that we need to get somebody to take us to the next level? And if we do take someone in as next level, how does that impact the youth coming through? The likes of Bangura Williams and all these youngsters we're trying to develop and progress through the team. Will they not get any minutes? Will they then get casted out? All these things can impact the whole thing, can't it? So, what's your thoughts on that, Disco?
Yeah, I think, look, I'd like to really mix it up a bit now and say, they're talking nonsense. If there's billions available, let's take it and go and spend the money, But look, you can't help but get a bit excited when you see a man of his background and his wealth, showing an interest. Look, I think it's quite a compliment to us that if it is genuine, which it feels like there are some legs in it. Quite a compliment that we are considered viable for somebody like that, and it won't just be little old Millwall in London. There'll be lots around the model of the club right now and the opportunity to grow, etc. So I see it as quite a compliment in that sense. Money doesn't guarantee your success, a bit like in life, isn't it? Money doesn't bring you happiness. It can bloody help, and it can certainly help in football big time. So yes, it's exciting to think, Jesus, if you could get somebody in with that sort of money spent the right way, it would be great. However, it's not guaranteed success. And let's be honest, could come in and be an absolute disaster in terms of, you know, things like, I think you think it in your head. Imagine coming in and just sacking Alex Neil and sacking off the recruitment team and that, and thinking, right, I want to get a big name in to be manager, and I want to get some big pros on big contracts who've got no affiliation with Millwall whatsoever. They just here for the big bucks. Can work, very likely won't work, and could be a real disaster. So I am, look, it was exciting. I thought it was a bit of a compliment that we are even mentioned in that. I think at first the mention was to invest in us. So you think, well, if he wants to invest, but the Burlesons stay in charge, actually, maybe there's a deal to be done there. But then you think it through and think, a guy with that sort of money and that sort of reputation and background, he ain't going to want to play second fiddle to anyone, is he? It's going to be his baby. So I can't imagine it's just to invest. It would be to, to own it or take it over. So, look, I'm sorry to not mix it up a bit. I'm very much in Chris and Dan's camp. That, look, I think we're on a good path right now, Millwall. I like what I'm seeing, hearing, feeling, touching. We're looking good right now. Yes, a little spare billion coming in to spend on a few players would be lovely, but let's see it take its course, and then let's see where we are in a few years and whether we're more viable for more, I don't know, different types of investment or ownership. And that's not me wanting to get rid of James or the Burleson family. I think, like the guys have said, we owe them currently a massive thank you, and long may it continue for me.
Lads, this is why you guys are on this show, because you all speak so well, and I agree with everything you said there. I think it's a hard thing. I think it comes to generations, in my opinion, because if you're an old generation, I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm kind of borderline old.
He is.
You're used to the old days. You're used to, as you, Disco, would probably agree, being in the lower leagues. It wasn't fun when you're playing against teams like Mansfield and shit teams like that. And suddenly you get into the Championship. For me, it's like, yeah, exactly. And Charlton, for me, it's like being in the Premiership when you're in the Championship. Yeah, because you're so used to sort of playing the low division such a long, long time. So for me, I'm grateful for where we are at the moment. But I think the younger generation has seen success that, say, Man City have shown, and through buying and whatever, and Chelsea, I guess, if you go back even further than that, how they kind of bought their way to success. And I can see why there's an element of youngsters probably more for it than the older generation. I think the older generation want the culture to remain in the club. They're probably worried that might not happen. And like you guys, I agree with what you guys said there. I'm happy with what the Burleson family have done for our club and how we've evolved and how we've got a plan in place now. We've got a module that seems to be working, So I'm all for it, guys. And one of the guys here mentioned here as well, a good comment, from John. Almeria haven't done too well on the Turkey. And for guys who don't know, he actually bought a Spanish club. He bought them, invested a little bit on them, flipped them, sold them, and they haven't exactly, done fantastic under his helm. So, yeah, there is a reason to be a little bit sceptical with all that, in my opinion. But we all know.
Joe, can I just add to that? Can I add to that as well? I always, in life, I always think when someone's making a decision, the question is why.
Yeah.
So, for example, Turkey's decision to invest in a football club. Why? Why does he want to do that?
I can tell you why.
Money. Go on.
I'll tell you what. It's the same reason why he got involved in boxing. It was to promote Saudi Arabia. It's to be the dominant force for sports and for put their name on the map.
We've not rehearsed this, but that's exactly it. And this is my point. Millwall is a unique club. Turkey doesn't need to make money. It's not an opportunity to make money. He's not looking at it going, in 10 years' time when I can regenerate the land. And all. That's not the game. He doesn't care. He's there for the reasons you just said. Probably like a little bit of fun, right? His own I want to own a football club one day. Imagine waking up thinking that. Like, I don't want to be his toy. Right? I don't. This is my club. And we're unique. And that is
can't
why.
put price on that.
Precisely, you can't. And how amazing would it be if he just gave us 200 million to go and spend on players, but control stay with the Berrisons? That is never going to happen, ever.
Correct.
There is no way that would coexist. Absolutely not. So this is where you always have to ask yourself the question why. And to David's point you put there is a much bigger picture that I think just takes us back to reality, which is we're on the right path.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Cheers for that, guys. I really do appreciate that. Before we move on to the next topic, Chris, can you just sort of share with us, the end of season for the podcast, but also what plans do we have in place for next season? You can share with our listeners, if you don't mind, just to share a few minutes on that.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah, so I think first and foremost, a massive thank you. I've said it before, but I feel to say it again. Like, we started in July, and to see the growth and the engagement over the course of 11 months is phenomenal. So a massive thank you to everyone that watches, listens, likes. That's a call to action to like the show if you've not already, or subscribe. And also to you lads, because without you it doesn't exist. And so a massive thank you. So that's first and foremost. We've also managed to raise a considerable amount of money for charity this season, and a charity that's close to many people's hearts. For next season, of course, we'll be supporting a charity again. It could well be cancer research. We're having conversations as a group, aren't we, lads? Where we're going to decide where we think it's best, but it will be for charity again next season. So I think that's again exciting, and we'll share more in due course. And I think I would love to know from the listeners. Either message the Chat with Chaps Twitter account, Instagram account, whatever, what you would like to see next season. But for us, I think we'll continue with the lives. I think we get good engagement and good interaction from all of you fine folk. We'll continue with the post-match reviews. We've got some really good, without naming names, we've got some really good player interviews coming up as well over the summer, which I think people will enjoy hearing from. And I think we'll probably do a little bit more coverage on the Championship as a whole, because it's an exciting league, right? How what I love about the Championship, and I don't know if it was Disco or Dan that mentioned this earlier, is that you almost have this place where there are so many clubs with so much money and so much, the parachute money, but yet anyone can beat anyone. And I love that about the Championship, right? It's a really unique position. So we might do a little bit more coverage on the Championship next season. But love to hear anything that the fans want, anything that anyone that listens to us would like to hear. And yeah, so that's kind of the direction for next season. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's either listened, watched, subscribed, liked, and more importantly to you boys. So thank you.
Excellent. Cheers for that, Chris. And just to echo what Chris says, thanks to all the listeners. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here, wouldn't be doing this, and we wouldn't be raising as much money as we did. Have we got a total yet, Chris, for the charity amount that we actually raised for this season? I know it's not an exact total, but can we give an idea where it might be?
We are, so the official amount that we shared was, I think it was about 8,200, right? I think that was the official amount. We are doing everything we can to get that into double figures. So for the first season. So we're hoping very much so that it will be 10K plus. But I'm trying to, I want to get there before I sort of announce it. But that's what we're aiming for, which would be a phenomenal achievement. So yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Good stuff. Cheers for that, Chris. Now, Chris, do you need to shoot, or you can hang on for a bit longer?
No, I do need to shoot, yeah. But I just wanted to come on and just, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you've got a few minutes. I just want to get your thoughts, if you don't mind, before you go very quickly on the transfer speculation. There's Wolves are interested in one of our players. That player happens to be Mihailo Ivanovic. Again, we don't know how much substance there is, but people know that they've sold Cunha to Man United. They've got a lot of money burning a hole in their pocket at the moment, and it seems like they're quite interested in looking at our striker Mihailo Ivanovic, who let's be honest, was on top form in the season, scoring 7 goals, I think, his last 9 games. He scored for the under-21s in a 2-1 loss recently as well. What's your thoughts, Chris, before you go? I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean,
is it the right time or not?
Yeah, no, I think that first thing I would say is how nice, like, and this people might be like, what is he on about? How nice is it to have so much interest in so many of our players? Right? We sold Zian Fleming, we sold Romain Esse. We've now got hot properties in Mihailo, Jaffet,
Race Bangor Williams,
Casper, Rays. And that, that's just off the cut. Negley, I'm sure, would be desirable. Like
Aziz,
this
continues. Yeah.
How and I think Kramer's phenomenal. Yeah. I think Jake Cooper gets an unfair rap and will get into most top 10 championship sides. So, we've got desirable players, and you only roll back 3, 4, 5 years, and that wasn't the case. So I think we need to bear that in mind, that it's not a bad thing for people to be looking at players, and that's what we need to be. So I think that's the first thing. For Mihailo, personally, I think for him and for us, I think he needs another year with us. I don't think he's ready yet to step up, if I'm being honest. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he'll do very well next season, but he's Premier League. No, he's not there yet. And it's great. And that makes me question: Is it agent talk? Is it angling for a new deal or something? I don't. Can
I chuck a question at you? Because I remember being in a very similar situation with Zian Fleming his first season with us. We'd done really, really well, sparked interest, obviously from Burnley the first time. They came with a very sort of fairly high offer. We kind of turned the offer down. He didn't have the best season after that. And I feel we kind of like, although we kind of got a decent amount for him, we probably could have got more had we sold him while he was actually at that purple patch of his time with us. Who's to say, is there a risk there that if they come with a decent offer, we say no to it, and then he has a terrible season, suddenly we don't have the, that transfer fee in place for we do want to let go of him in a year or so? I mean, it's a real gamble, isn't it? Do you not think?
Yeah, I've just seen in the chat, someone's talking about 20 million. If someone offers you 20 million, you take it, right? Like that's a ridiculous fee for a championship player that's had one season in the championship, scored 12 goals, right? So I think, if you're talking 15, 20 million, you've got to listen to it. But I don't think they'll be offering that right now. So therefore, to me, there is, there is a no-brainer. And the boys did a really good championship show last week. And we talked about whether the championship's harder this season or whatever. You don't progress in the championship by selling your best players constantly. And I know that we have to evolve as a selling club. Obviously, Fleming last year, Esse this year, whatever. But you can't just bite at the first offer. So I guess my overall point is, if someone offers you 15, 20 million, you have to consider that. But I don't think Wolves are. I think Wolves will probably offer like 5 to 10. And I think we reject that because I think he's got the potential to do more. And I think we as a club do. I think we should be certainly aiming for the top 6.
Yeah, superb, brilliant. Chris, thanks very much, mate. Cheers for being with us. That's three times in a row now. You'll get your match football, so you can take it with you after today's show. And hopefully we'll see you back on the... Hopefully we'll see you back on the next one. We've got no excuse now. You're not doing any post-match analysis. You've got loads of free time. You're not going on holiday until September. So there's no reason. Forget that work.
All right. Well, I'll maybe see you next week.
Yeah, that's the spirit. Chris,
thanks, lad. Thanks so much. Have a good evening.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Soon. Take care.
See you later.
Cheers. Good stuff. Dan, I want to come to you next, mate. Regards to Ivanovic, obviously, I don't know what Cunha's gone for. Is it 65 million? I think it's reported to Man United. So there's a lot of money there for them to kind of play with. If the offer's right, would you accept it? And what would that offer need to be for you to even be willing to let him go?
think like we were saying earlier with the club and the Turkey stuff, I think every player's got a price, haven't they? And like, let's be honest, if they come in and or anyone for that matter slaps down silly money, then there's a point where you've got to take it. It would be irresponsible not to. But my concern is, and I think the model we've got is the right one, sort of on paper. I think we need to get better. Traditionally, we've not been good at selling our players for good money, have we? That has changed to an extent. Obviously, we've had a few big sales now. Fleming, SA, go back to Savile a few years ago and stuff like that. What the club want to emulate is that sort of model that's worked so well for Brighton, Brentford, stuff like that. But that's easier said than done. And for me, the tricky part is, okay, so take Ivanovic, for example. We sort of unearthed the gem. We had a really good season where we had a really good second half of the season, didn't he? At the start, he was in and out and stuff. And I know there's a bit of debate and, was he ready and stuff? And I remember coming in here and saying, he's just a lad. He's come, moved abroad, uprooted his life. And it's a difficult league to come and play in. And he's done really well. And we're going to reap the benefits of that next year. Or is someone else going to reap the benefits of that next year? For me, absolutely. And someone just made the point in the chat, actually, it just come up. How are we, I don't know if we're going to progress as a club if we sort of sell someone after a good assets. Yeah, I mean, I get it. The idea is you sell it, you buy them for a lower price, you make the money, and you bring the next one in. But if you do that after 12 months, like Ivanovic has been, where's all right, we get the cash benefits, but we want the benefits of them on the field as well. And, Ivanovic will be so much better next season for the season he's just had. For me, and there are other things at play as well. Like, you don't know, and I'm not suggesting that's the case of Ivanovic. Like, players might want moves, stuff like that, and clauses like we saw with Romain. But I think if we can keep him, unless it's bordering silly, ridiculous money, then I think we'd be mad not to, because, there is a caveat. Like, the flip side of the coin is like I don't know if one of you guys just said it was in the chat about Fleming. Could we have got more? And we probably could have. But, you've got to back yourself and think, okay, this lad's, if he gets sort of 7-8 goals between August and sort of December, who's to say someone won't come in with silly money in January? And, where are we going to be at that point in January? If we're in the top 6, then you've got a decision to make. It's difficult. I'm not digging the club out because I think it's a very tricky thing to get right. And I'm not sure if you can ever really master it, because obviously it will change with different players and different scenarios. But I just think in Ivanovic's case, especially goal scorers, like, how much rubbish have we seen down the years up front? Like, couldn't it have barn door? And, we found a lad who's a finisher. Like, all of his goals are different. I think his overall play has got better as the season's gone on. He's got a nice bit of link about him. I'd be really
good age.
Yeah.
It just ticks all the boxes, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you've got to back and hope that he's good enough that if he doesn't hit the heights next season, that there's still a chance to move him on for a profit if he comes again the next season. He's got time on his side. Hopefully we'll be better for the experience this season as well. I think we've got a really solid manager. It's just difficult. Like, I get that is the game, and I think that is the right game to play in terms of player trading, because that's how you move on. But it's about nailing that sweet spot about when to sell. For me, I would keep another year. And you look at the 2 years, I think with Fleming, it actually worked out. I would have kept him the other year, and then, all right, year 3, fair enough. But there's lots of factors at play, aren't there? We don't really know what the club will do with that, because even like Romain went in January, and obviously he had a clause. But when you think about it, that was the first real period of football he'd had playing consistently week in, week out. Starting games, very in and out the season before. So, you look at him, he's not gone into Palace and set the world alight. He probably could have done with the season, couldn't he?
Yeah, and not too dissimilar to Mihailo when you think about it, because like you say, he's only really come and been a big part player towards the end of our season. So to your point, you're at spot on there, aren't you? Really, you know?
Yeah, I just think it's a no-brainer if we can look. If someone slaps down silly money, £20 million or something like that, we're talking like that. You know, you've got to use the SA fee as a benchmark. I think.
Yeah.
You know, goal scorers are hard to find, notoriously hard to find, and you know, as good as someone like a Tanganga is, I'd be more confident of us finding a really good centre half than I would a young striker with his sort of profile who can get 12, 13 goals a season. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, I've got no doubt, you know, Richie's saying, I've got no doubt it's genuine if Richie's saying it. Like, you know, people know what I think about him. Like, you know, he's sort of number one. And I would imagine more clubs will sort of be known throughout the summer because, you know, in terms of the top two leagues in Europe and players under 21, he's right up there in terms of goals. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play it. It's a tricky one, but that would be my preference. My preference would be to keep him. I think it's a no-brainer, but I'm not calling the shots. And you know, when that number's put down on the table in black and white, it's maybe easier said than done.
Exactly. Cheers, Dan. I really appreciate that. Disco coming to you next. I mean, obviously, as Dan says, you know, what does this potential exit mean to Millwall and our attacking threat if Ivanovic was to leave? You know, do we keep our best players, we keep our best assets, and we go at it next season? But then obviously Wolves got the money. If they offer big money, what do we do? Does it make sense to sell him? And do you feel that Millwall could keep hold of Ivanovic? With that kind of Premiership interest, that's obviously going to be a very attractive to him and any player I imagine playing the Championship who wants to step up and test himself at a higher level.
Yeah, look, first and foremost, I think, look, is it agent talk? Is it genuine? I think, as Dan's just said there, the point that the big man, Rich Cowley, has sort of released it, you think there's something there, so it won't be total bullshit. It's interesting, isn't it? Where we always were renowned for asking Rich, who's our next striker signing, Rich, and now he's telling us about our striker possibly being signed. So hope that's not a sign of the future with him leaving it or going from the SLP. Look, so I think it's genuine. The other link seem to have a little bit of a link with Wolves right now, don't we? Obviously, Kundal. There was rumour with Jaffet, wasn't there, in January with Wolves as well. So they're probably, sometimes clubs get a bit of a link, don't they, between each other, I guess, through agents and recruitment teams and what have you. So, look, it probably is genuine. With all the greatest respect in the world to Mihailo, and I love the guy, can't wait to see him playing for us again next season, where I do genuinely think he'll set the world alight. I can't see Wolves coming in and offering 15, 20, which is all I would say is acceptable, which is way over the top, but would be worth, if you like, doing. They're probably 10, 5, 10. Well, look, it's a lot of money, for us to be saying, oh no, we turned down 10 million. Bloody hell, that shows where Millwall have come, but that would not be worth it. And I think most people are saying that right now. Tell you what triggered with me there, hearing Chris run through the current players that we've got that other clubs have either got an interest or will have any. Bloody hell, it makes you realise what a great place we're in, aren't we? And he's absolutely right. Everyone he mentioned there are top draw players.
They've got some resale value, haven't they?
So so we're really in a good place. I think, look, so for me, stay Mihailo. I think the other thing I wanted to say, Joe, your point, I was thinking that in my mind. Could he miss out on a big move and it affect his playing this year? I don't think so, for two reasons. Don't know the lad personally, obviously, but I think he seems a bit of a different character to Zian. He's a different age. He's at a different stage in his career. So I think he can see at the moment things are going really well for him and they're only going to get better. Barring injuries, God forbid, he is only going to get better and become more valuable and have more suitors, more attractors who want to buy him. So everyone's going to win in the long run. We're going to win with another season or two out of him and whoever buys him, and then get really good money. And then he will win by getting the dream move that he possibly wants if we don't go up or etc. So for me, again, a bit similar to the Sheikh interest. real compliment that clubs are even thinking about players like Mihailo. But for me, unless it's, as Dan said, unless it's a real stupid money, you cannot refuse offer. Let's keep him, let's build him and develop him help us have a great season, but also help him develop his career.
Yeah, no, spot on, guys. Excellent. And I feel we can kind of talk about this a little bit longer, but we have to move on because we're only on point number 2 on the agenda. We've got about 3 or 4 to go here. So the next subject I want to touch on is the opportunity, if you like, for the potential permanent signing of Zack Sturge. Obviously, we had him on loan last season. A lot of fans were very, very impressed with him. He made 5 appearances for Millwall, starting the last 3 games for us because Joe Bryan was injured. He had a fantastic game against I think it was Swansea, where we had a clean sheet winning that game 1-0. And apparently his contract runs up at Chelsea this summer. So I'm guessing he'll be available as a free agent, Dan. I'm not quite sure whether there'll be some kind of tribunal there as part of because of his age, whether it would actually get him for free if we're interested in signing it. I'm sure there'd be lots of the clubs also very keen to get his signature. But of course, he's played for us. He knows a lot of the players now. He's quite settled. It's a bit quite easy move for him, not having to relocate or anything. What's your thoughts on Zack Sturge, Dan?
Yeah, I think you look at the profile after we talk about the model and stuff. He ticks every box. He's a good athlete. He's a good age, good profile. Got some good experience at the back end of last year. I would say we've only seen a small sample size, but what we saw of him obviously looked really good. I think it's a bit of an open secret, really, isn't it? We're sort of interested in him. I think it was even sort of alluded to at the time. I'm not sure if it was in a report or whether Alex Neil sort of implied it himself. But we want to, if we're loaning a player like that in, it's obviously with a view to a longer term.
Yeah.
So it would make a lot of sense in that respect. As far as I know, we're not the only ones who were quite keen on him. He was really, really highly rated before he went to Chelsea, and obviously it's not really. I mean, Chelsea's a bit of a all the best. I think even exceptional players won't get through at Chelsea just because they've got so bloody many of them.
It's true.
It's an interesting one. I think on paper, like it's he's not going to break the bank sort of thing. It's relatively low risk. He's the right profile, and we need someone in that position. I don't see why. It looked from me off. It would be something we would probably pursue. It makes sense that we are, and I think it ticks a lot of boxes. So fingers crossed.
Nice one. Cheers, Dan. And coming to you next, Disco. I mean, he certainly aligns to the Millwall sort of profile, signing young players, up and coming, athletic, have some resale value if they do really, really well. Do you see that as a bit of a no-brainer to Chris Brown's comment there? Obviously, we still got Joe Bryan as our left back. I'm not saying he'll get ahead of Joe Bryan, because I think Joe Bryan had a fantastic season last season, and I think he deserves his place in the team. But certainly that gives us a bit of competition. And more importantly, we've got a succession plan. We've got a young talent coming through. That's going to be a good replacement for Joe Bryan if, let's say, he moves on the season after next, maybe,
Yeah, look, no-brainer is the right phrase. Dan's nailed it as well. He ticks all the boxes of what we're looking for. And look, useful. We've seen a bit of him. He's played a few games. He knows the club now. He could handle it. Let's be honest. He could handle playing at the Den and away, which not all can. So he's proved that. And the only thing I can add there is he seemed to gel with the younger lads, didn't he? With RBW and the like. So it seemed like he fitted in. So hopefully. It is something we pursue. And somebody mentioned there, Scanlon I couldn't agree more. Scanlon looked really good as well. But his injury background would worry me, and especially the nature of it. A broken back or a fractured back, that is not a good situation. And I'm not sure if it was a reoccurrence, which is even worse, But yes, he did look really good. So look, Sturge, a thumbs up from me, definitely.
Excellent.
You, Joe? Would you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I said before, I think he aligns with Millwall's sort of long-term strategy. Yeah, integrating youngsters, talented players coming through. There's a resale value that I think will be quite clear there with someone like Zack Sturge, who, let's be honest, he's a modern-day footballer. Yeah, he's athletic, he's quick, he's strong, he's direct, exciting to watch. You pay to watch players like that, didn't you? And I guess in some ways he's kind of different to anyone we've ever had at Millwall playing in that position. It's good to have that kind of option. And he's only is he 19, 20 years old, Dan? I don't know how old he is. He's very young, isn't he?
Yeah, he's young. I think you make a good point there as well about not having anyone like that. One of the differences I noticed when Alex Neil come in, especially Tristan Kramer, I think Steve might have made the point. He likes to play the fullbacks higher. You look at the output from Kramer, he did so, considering it's not his position, it's actually ridiculous when you think about it. And, there were moments and stuff, but, that's what I expect to see more of coming into the new season now, those fullbacks higher and that final third output. So, ticks a lot of boxes.
No, brilliant. Excellent. Cheers for that. Next point, guys, the Millwall goalkeeper situation. And, I want to just stick with yourself, Disco, this time. Obviously, Lucas Jensen, we know he's injured with his Achilles injury. He's going to be out at least until December. It may even be January by the time he sort of gets to full fitness there. But with him being sidelined such a long time, it leaves Mill without established first-team goalkeeper. Obviously, Liam Roberts, allegedly, we're led to believe that there's some contract talks going on there at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen next season for Liam Roberts, whether Robbo's going to be here or not. And that leaves George Evans, a young goalkeeper, as the first choice keeper if we decide that's to be the case until Jensen comes back in December. What's your thoughts, Disco, on the whole scenario there, the whole situation? And what would you do if you were managing that situation, if you're in the club?
Yeah, I think on another show we've had discussions about this. I mean, for me, I'm really clear. I think we've offered contracts, haven't we, to Roberts and Evans, and I hope they both take them up. Personally, I would love to keep Roberts, but probably primarily as he is now or was the number two, but a very reliable number two. Evans, I think, would benefit from going out on loan and playing regular football. And I know there'd be a lot of people shouting at the screen now, no, look, he played a few games, he should start or be on the bench. There's no point being a keeper on the bench. He needs to go out and be playing regular on the back of those games last season. And then, look, easy for me to say, but I'd personally would say go out and get a good loan keeper from a Prem team. I mean, they have 3-4 keepers, don't they, normally? And some there's some very, very good second, third, fourth string keepers in the Prem. So I know with money and all that, but I'm pretty sure we should be able to get somebody. I like the guy, Travis at Bournemouth, who hasn't had a good last couple of years, really. Has he? We were rumoured to be in for him the season before last, and he then got snapped up by... Did he go to Stoke? I think he went to Stoke, didn't he, instead?
I know we were after him. We kind of missed out on him, didn't we?
We missed out, and then it's rumours whether it, but probably something in it. And then like last year, he went to Borough, and I think he did very well at Borough. So that sort of player for me, there's a good few of quality keepers like that around. Because look, Jensen's our man. When he comes back, he is going to be our main man. But let's not kid ourselves. We're saying Christmas, it could be a big chunk of the season he's not available, sadly, so we do need to cover ourselves with quality experience, in my mind.
Yeah, I agree, Disco. Dan, coming to yourself next. I mean, obviously, George Evans, we know what a promising young talent he is. 20 years of age, product of Millwall's academy. He's made, 4 championship appearances for us this season. He had the right to man of the match honours for a 1-0 win against Swansea City, which was fantastic. He's had loan spells previously. He's gone out to Broadbridge Heath and Sutton United, albeit for a very short period of time. What's your thoughts? Would you pick him as our number one goalkeeper? Would you choose to send him out on loan? If he does go out on loan, then obviously where does that leave us? So I'd be interested to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I think he's got to go on loan. I think it's different, although it was a unique end to the season because we were still alive in the playoff hunt. So that was a lot more pressure than just playing 3-4 games as a sort of hit. It's a hell of a lot different to put that on a 20-year-old, going into the season. You're going to start the season as our number one. He needs to go out and play games. I think Disco's sort of nailed it. We've got better with our loans in terms of getting him into the league. Like, I know a couple of lads went to Bromley. So it would be good to get him a good league loan and sort of see where we stand because, if he did look good. There are aspects where it's a difficult position, goalkeeper. I think it's not like giving a teenager some minutes in the middle of a pitch or up front in defence. You don't. I can't remember the last time we had a sort of academy keeper come through and play games regularly. So
true.
I think if we've got hopes for him, then we need to do right by him and let him go out and play. It's difficult for goalkeeper situation at the minute. It's obviously very much up in the air. It's really unfortunate that Jensen picked up that serious injury because he was starting to really look the part after a sort of a mixed start. I think the option would probably be we'll look to bring in another keeper. Roberts is sort of up in the air at the minute. We've used the loan market for the keepers before, and we've had great success at sort of centre back with like Dan Ballard and Charlie Cresswell from Leeds and stuff. So I think there's probably every chance that we'd look to maybe use that market. The club, Ray Jensen, they've gone out and paid a decent fee for him 12 months ago. They've paid that fee so he can be the number one goalkeeper for the foreseeable future. But I don't think that's changed, off the back of that injury. So, I would imagine it would be sort of looking at a loan or potentially someone whose deals up. But yeah, I think we need experience here. I don't think we can start the season with Evans in goal. Don't think it'd be fair on us or him, to be fair. It'd be nice for him to go out and get some games as well instead of being third choice. It's going to do him no good just sitting around.
Yeah, Disco. Sorry, mate.
Do we know any? I put my hand up, look, I'm back at school. See, I'm not that old.
We were going to use the toilet. I was going to say, go on then.
Can I go to it? No, I'm that age.
Be quick.
Me pants these days.
Wash your hands.
So, is there any news on the keeper coach? Don't think we've heard anything on that yet, have we?
Good point. Not that I've heard of, Dan. I don't know about you, Dan. Have you heard anything on that?
No, nothing at all.
Also, just going back to Robbo. I personally love Robbo. I think Jensen just picks it as number one spot. The trouble is, obviously, we all know with him getting that 6-game ban after the Palace incident and all the carnage that followed through the media, playing devil's advocate a little bit, is there, I guess, an element there, Dan, where maybe he just needs a fresh start? Yeah, he just needs to kind of, for him and his family, had a rough few months to start a fresh start, new club, new chapter in his career, and go and do something new. As much as I selfishly would love to have him at the club, Dan. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that would probably appeal, wouldn't it? If you're looking at it from in his shoes, he's not played since. You sort of guarantee whenever that first game does come. I think it helps that the summer's here and he's not played again this season. But when that game does come, it's going to be a talking point, and it's going to be a bigger talking point if he's with us. I would say, which is a real shame. Because he's looked, he had a couple of really good games, didn't he? Standing in, like the Leeds game springs to mind.
He was excellent, wasn't he?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting. I mean, you'd assume that would be playing on his mind, on his family's mind as well. So it'd be interesting to see what he decides to do. I mean, I know Rich said about Barnsley being interested. I think off the top of my head, he had a spell on loan there, didn't he? I think he is up north as well, isn't he? So the chance to sort of move back would potentially appeal as well, especially if, like we're saying, look, Jensen is going to be our number one. Maybe it'd be a bit different if Jensen wasn't in and he was moving on. Do you want to stay and be a number one? I don't know. They're all elements that would potentially go into his thinking. So, but I think that's a good point, mate. I think that would probably be sort of thinking that over in his head, definitely.
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. Cheers, Dan. Cheers, Disco, for that. Just going to the chat very quickly. So again, yeah, a lot of love for Robbo, and like I said, whatever Robbo decides to do, we wish him all the best. If it's going to be at Millwall, great. If he chooses that he wants a fresh start elsewhere, then I'm sure he'll have all of our blessing there. Change the subject on a little bit more of a lighter note. Staying with yourself, Dan, for this one. The current kit overview. Obviously, no one knows what the new kit's going to be like. Last season, we went for the retro. Obviously, the old Fairview design shirt with the blue and the white stripes at the bottom as well. Obviously, it's quite nostalgic. We look at these old shirts, and a lot of clubs seem to be sort of doing this at the moment. Are you a kind of retro, sort of classic sort of guy? Are you more like a modern sort of shirt man? What's your thoughts when it comes to Millwall shirts?
Yeah, I like a retro. It'd be nice if there was a few more available to buy that aren't on.
What would you go for if you had a choice, Dan? If there was a retro, what would be your favourite?
So my favourite shirt was, when I was younger, I used to really like the sponsors. Now I hate them. I love the 24/7 logo. That was one of the first kits I remember having. Like, I was old enough to play football, like at school and that. And I remember having it. Do you remember the grey and black?
Yes.
The grey. Yeah. I nice. Really liked that one.
I don't know why. I think of Ronnie Ball in that one. I think I got a program of Ronnie Ball in that one. Was that Ronnie Ball era? I'm sure, 2000. Yeah.
So it would have been. Would have been just before we got cup finals, so like 2001, 2002.
Yeah, 3. That's right.
I like that one. Even the blue. I'd love the blue. You look online now; they've all got tattered, haven't they? But
I know.
I don't mind the kit. Like, I know people don't like them. Like, it's different for me. Like my little boy, it'd be 2 in a few days. In a few days, and so I can't wait to take him down. And for me, I used to love it when we went, and my dad would wear the shirt. So I know my daughter's not into football, but I tried and I wore the shirt and that. I don't mind it. I get why people don't like it, but I don't mind it. I think I prefer a retro over the last season one grew on me, but when I first saw it, I wasn't ultra keen. I think they a bit too much.
Yeah, good. And cheers, Dan. And Disco, we'll get your thoughts on that. Are you a retro shirt man? Are you a modern day shirt man? If it's a retro, what would you go for? And guys in the chat, again, if there was a retro shirt that you'd like us to reproduce or do something similar to, what shirt would that be? Be interested to get your thoughts in the chat. It'd be good to sort of show your ages to see what you come back with. Disco, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good idea this season, or last season as it was. I quite like that phasing of the white, going down the shirt. I thought that was quite unique. And am I right? Was it originally the Mick McCarthy team we had that with? Would it have been Mick McCarthy?
I think it was, Dan, wasn't it? Was it like his second season? We had the Fairview shirt, wasn't it? It was the old Fairview housing developers, weren't they, from memory?
I would have been about 2 or 3, not a clue, lads.
Yeah, I remember it. I only remember it because I was in nursery. I think I was about 3 years old at the time. So I just vaguely remember.
Well, I was out working for a living. You lazy little kids, you little snap.
While I was playing boxers and nurses,
keeping this country going, I tell you. I remember it.
Selling KP crisps.
I didn't like the collar. I didn't like the collar this year. I'm not a big fan of collars.
Yeah, I'm not a collar guy. Are you a collar guy?
I quite like
You'd be surprised I'm not a cuffs and collars sort of guy, but I'm really not. I'm not.
Well, not on
a one we had the other year with the button-up collar. What was that?
Yeah.
TW Drainage, the home one with the stripes. I like the stripes, but I didn't like the collar.
Yeah. I didn't like it. I tell you what I quite liked was the V-neck grey shirt. Was it our third kit last season? The grey one with the V-neck.
Yeah.
Was that season before, wasn't it? That's
do you mean the bluey grey or?
Well, it's like a grey. Yeah. So basically, I read into that a little bit. Yeah, and what I read up on that was the grey and the kind of turquoise blue thing basically represented the Dockers steel colours associated with Millwall. Apparently.
Oh wow!
Which is the one with the V-neck, and There you go. You know, I didn't know that.
We're talking of V-neck. We were talking the other day, weren't we, about the Lewisham shirt? I mean, that for me is synonymous with.
That's my favourite. The only thing is, Disco, I don't know if you agree or not. I love that shirt. For me, it's my favourite shirt. Whether it be the one that we got promoted or even our first season Division 1, the old top tier, they're both very similar. But will it not look the same without having the Lewisham? I think the Lewisham made it what it was. If that makes any sense. I don't know how you do that. How you do that shirt with the dark blue, light blue sort of stripes going down one side, was it with a white V-neck neck, and then a different sponsor? I don't know how that worked. I can't see Lewisham.
Good point.
You know, get back in and sponsor us again now.
I doubt they're going to be interested, but So look, the other thing I'd throw in there. What's your view on? I'm okay now with the dark blue that we have. You know, look, we've changed the blue, haven't we, over the years? And it was
interesting
more of a royal blue. But I don't mind this darker blue, I'll be honest. And even though, you know, I think back more of the traditional shirts were i.e. the Lewisham shirt was a totally different blue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
You're right. Well, there's different blues, Dan, weren't there? You got the light blues, which I'm talking about the late 80s, when we went up in 88, 89, that sort of season with the Lewisham. I love that. That's a light blue. Then you had the kind of much darker blue. I don't know. For me, I don't like it being too dark. It almost feels like you're bordering like black almost when you see them out on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I want them. I want them to kind of stand out a little bit. I'm not saying they've got to be bright blue, but just have some kind of colour. Dan, what's your thoughts on the blue?
Yeah, I remember. So the early teams I remember is like 98, 99, like, and that was that royal blue, wasn't it? But darker blue has grown on me. Like, until you say it now, like, you sort of forget that it's sort of changed that much. It would be not what I think will happen is, because I'm sure we went back to the darker blue for like it might have even been like a retro thing, and then obviously it sort of stuck. Wouldn't surprise me if we sort of go back in another way. We'll do the royal blue as a sort of retro throwback, and we'll end up thinking, it's quite nice.
Well, that's it. Exactly. And of course, there was that one season when, Dan, you might know this one. Was it 2001, 2002? The white shirt with the Georgia, and a lot of people say it here in the chat with the Georgia.
Was that a strike force?
Yeah.
It was.
They redid it, didn't they? And the shop, my missus got it for me for Christmas.
I've got it in the other room.
Yeah.
Wow. I've just seen a comment here. Sorry, guys. I need to pull this one up. This is incredible. John, thank you so much. It's just donated £10 to our charity. Fantastic. John, thank you so much.
Yes,
so John's was the 1960s white with thick blue band. That's interesting.
Oh, right.
I'll leave you two to that one. That's your era.
That's even before my time, Dan. Maybe Disco might remember that one.
Oh, well, no. If it's late 60s, I do remember him playing in white, but not with a blue band, John. That's I don't remember that one. So
because that Giorgio shirt, Disco and Dan, the white Georgia, I'm sure that was a retro from a shirt we had in the 70s, wasn't it? Could have been 72, 73? Again, guys, in the chat, you probably know if there's anyone that can remember that. There was that white Giorgio top, and even the old badge, it was the old 70s badge with the two lions.
Yeah, the two lions. Yeah.
Maybe John, there, you might be able to tell us on that one as well, whether that was one that was from a certain era. I'm pretty sure it would have been the 70s, that one. So, but John, listen, mate, thanks again for that £10 donation.
Brilliant.
Very, very kind and very, very generous of you. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I like white as well, to be honest. I'd go drastic. Even as a first team, I wouldn't be against white again, but I like it at least as a second kit. We should have white as we have done recently. You know, I like that.
I tell you what grew on me was the dark green kit. And I heard a lot of players say they quite enjoyed they enjoyed playing in that kit. I don't know whether it was the style of it or something, you know, or the way it felt on them. But a few players I spoke to kind of mentioned they actually quite like wearing that kit, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I don't know how that got
the MW, didn't it? Yeah, I think all of the kits this year was sort of growers for me. It's difficult as well. Like I'm saying about the sponsors, like for me, like it's probably quite a childish view, but for me, the sponsor sort of makes or breaks a kit almost, because it's such a big part. Like, I like Husky, but I don't mind the sponsor. Like, and at least it's not a betting site, gambling site, whatever. So
that's true.
They've all been decent, but that one isn't bad, to be fair.
Yeah, no, you're right. Also, just on the same subject,
I thought he was saying
Millwall Rovers.
It was mine, Millwall Rovers. Cheers,
Millwall Rovers. That's right. That was the old, probably old Millwall team back in the time. But also, staying on kits, very, very. Joe's got a bit of a UKIP. UKIP. I lost my train of thought there. Oh, there you go. Manufacturers, guys, of kits. Manufacturers of kits. Now, why is it historically we'd never ever have a good manufacturing kit like a Nike or an Adidas or a Puma, or even an Umbro? I take at the moment. I think for me the best one we probably had, I would probably say, is it Asics, maybe back in the 90s. Again, is that down to?
So it's down to so places like Nike and Adidas and that. So my job before I switched to journalism was, funny enough, was in fashion retail. You wouldn't think it, would you?
Right. Well, you're the best guy for this question.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. We've got an expert. We've got an expert here.
So they don't do like bespoke kits. So you have to pick like a model. So you'd pick like from their catalogue, like the Nike catalogue, and obviously you can add your badge and your logo to it and that. But like template kits, they call them. So you would potentially, like, for example, if we had Nike, you'd have the same kit as like a Southend or someone, or a Charlton when they had it. So I'm pretty sure that's why. I think with like Macron, like, I'm not a big fan of Macron. And well, I'm assuming Area as well. They let you have an influence in the design, how it looks, basically the design. You're not sort of buying a template thing off a peg, but some of our
makes sense. That makes sense. But I just can't understand, Dan, after all these years, and Disco, I don't know if you agree with me or not, is after all these years how we have not had like one season of a decent brand. I'm not saying it's going to definitely double shirt sales, but surely it might make a difference. You might get people buying it more because it's a Nike or a top brand manufacturer. In the back of my mind, I kept thinking, is it a reputation thing? Is it a profile thing where some of these clubs don't want to be associated with Millwall, these manufacturers, because they feel that maybe they want to have Nike on there in fear of what may or may not happen? I don't know. Could there be an element of that, Dan? Disco, what's your thoughts on that?
You don't know, do you? But I have heard, like Dan has said, I've heard that the big names, as you've mentioned, like Adidas, etc., it's template shirts. And Dan, I'd imagine you have to commit to certain volumes as well, no doubt. And, I don't think we're probably up there with one of the big clubs in terms of shirt sales. It's not, we all love them and wear them, but it's not a big match day, is it? We don't have a lot of shirt wearers.
I'd say that's probably the thing. I don't know, maybe Nike and Adidas, maybe that is a thing. The only people who would know would probably be them, but I definitely think volume's probably got a big point. But like Disco says, like, traditionally we're not like people who buy a shirt and wear it on holiday and stuff. Like I said, like I don't mind. If I was going to a game on my own, I wouldn't wear a shirt. But like I say, when I take my boy in that, I'm hoping if I'm wearing a shirt, it'd be a bit more interested, sort of stuff like that. I wouldn't go out of my way to sort of, like, if I go to the gym or something or a beach, we're not a sort of typical club who will sort of, you go around a match day and it's all blue or it's all red, depending on what colour on. So,
I agree.
Nike and Adidas, if they're going to sell, I don't know, a couple of thousand or whatever it is, it's not going to be that appealing from either, is it?
No, exactly. I think the last time I wore a Millwall shirt to a game would be in 98, 99 at the Auto Windscreen Shield final at Wembley. And that day, there was a lot of blue. There's a lot of people wearing blue Millwall shirts and stuff. I think that's just because of how it was back then, But you're right, Dan. I think in recent years, you see less and less and less Mill fans wearing shirts. And normally, if you do see one, they tend to be a tourist, don't they? Who just bought one from the club shop and just whacked it on, maybe, So that interesting point there. But no, it always sort of baffles me. Like, why we don't get like a Nike or a big brand, you know?
Jesper said in there, what are you talking about, Joe? We had Strike Force.
I saw that. I want to try,
you know, and
that one there. I mean,
somebody
God,
else,
was that under Theo?
Is it Bukta or Bukta? That was
Bukta.
I remember Bukta
in the 70s.
Bukta.
I'll tell you the one I really liked. Sorry, just quick. The one I really liked of recent years, and is it 2-3 seasons ago? Second or third, I think it was third shirt, like a turquoisey blue. Would you call it turquoisey? That light blue. Is it turquoise or it's like a light blue? Real unique. It was. I love that shirt. I've got that in the other room. That's a lovely shirt. Really like that one.
So John just asked that question there. Disco. John asked that question. The white shirt was 62, 63 season.
Wow. Well, I was born in 63, John. So that was the year of young Disco joining this planet. So I missed the band.
He come flying out with his little as he come out.
I was on time, Joe. I was on time.
I bet you was. I bet there's a right scuffle before you come in there, before you actually arrive. But yeah, I can imagine all sorts going on.
That was good.
No, that's good. Well, loads of comments coming through. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much, guys. Again, if you haven't liked the channel, you know, please subscribe. Please like the show. Disco, what are we up to in likes at the moment? You're normally our
I've not been. I must admit, I've not been on, mate. So.
You can check for us, guys. Please. If you haven't done it, all you got to do is just click on if you're on YouTube, just go out, click on the like button for me. Do us a massive favor. There's 275 people on the live, and I just want to make sure that we get most of you guys like it, because again, it all helps with the algorithms. It helps us. It helps the channel. It helps us grow, and in turn, it gives us more revenue, more money. That all goes to Cancer Research UK. So please do that. If you were here earlier when Chris was on the channel, he said we're up to 8,500 at the moment, but he's confident that once we do the final tally, we're trying to get double figures. So hopefully over 10 grand. But again, little things like this that you're doing, guys, by liking, by subscribing, it really does help. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, guys.
49 likes with me. 49, Joe. I've just
49
myself.
Yeah,
oh, 50.
brilliant. Guys,
50 now. We've got
50. Amazing. Guys, can we get to 75 before we wrap up? We ain't got long left, guys. We're literally coming towards the end. So please, if you haven't done it yet, even you're listening back to the show afterwards, you don't actually watch it live, you watch it, I know, on a recording tomorrow. Just give it a like for us, guys. Let's try and get 75 likes. And that will certainly help us out with the algorithms. Guys, we're going to move on very, very quickly.
Joe, sorry, Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Did Chris say as well that interaction on the YouTube comments helps? Did he say if we get comments?
Comments on there as well, that helps, you know, and we do read all your comments as well on there, guys. So if you do comment on there, we will respond to you and reply to you on there as well.
I'll commit to doing that replying,
Nice one. Cheers, Disco.
58.
Let's move on to. Oh, there you go. That's a massive jump there. 58, guys. Let's get 75. Keep liking that for us. Dan's got to shoot off, so we need to cover the last section very, very quickly, guys, if you don't mind. We want to discuss, if we can, the next season pre-season friendly. So, if you haven't heard yet, we've got 2 games scheduled for pre-season. On Saturday, the 26th of July, we're away against Bromley at the, is it the Copperjacks Community Stadium, I think they call it, which is a 3 p.m. kickoff. Hopefully be lovely, nice and warm afternoon on the 26th of July. The next one after that is on the 29th of July, which is away against Sutton United at the VBS Community Stadium. That'll be an evening kickoff at 7:45. So that's on the 29th, so Tuesday evening, that one. We have organised, again, a pre-season training camp in Spain. This is at the camp, which is based near Alicante. I went there last year. It was fantastic. It's a really, really good experience being out in Spain, you know, having a mini holiday out there, watching Millwall at the, I think they called it the Pinatra Arena. I'm not sure if we're going back to the same stadium or not. It might be a different location. And that was against Real Murcia. We actually played Forest and we played Real Murcia in those friendlies.
Right, yeah.
We lost to Forest 2-1, I believe. and Mark, who got the consolation goal for us in that game. And we then beat Real Murcia 2-1 with Bradshaw scoring our goal. They equalised. In the last couple of minutes, Tom Leahy got the winner, bless him. And obviously Tom's now moved on now. He's left the club, and we wish him well. But yeah, so get your thoughts there, Dan. What's your thoughts on the pre-season friendly? Are you kind of underwhelmed, overwhelmed by it all? What's your kind of thoughts in the last couple of years?
Yeah, they're always a little bit sort of underwhelming, aren't they? Although the tour, I must say, people have been wanting, and fair play to the club for putting it on. It looked, so good last year, and a really nice touch from Chopper sort of greeting people as they went into, I think it was the first game, wasn't it?
Yeah. Problem
for me is that when they go away, is always sort of in and around my daughter's birthday. So if you ever see me out in Spain, it means I've been sort of kicked out of the house. And but that'll be a really, really positive trip again, and something for people to look forward to. We normally get one sort of home game, don't we, towards the end, which is that was the right word to describe it. Better than Bromley and Sutton, maybe. So hopefully they've got a few more things up their sleeve, but at least they're local lads.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Sorry, Steve.
No, I was saying 65 likes. Sorry, no, I wasn't interrupting. Sorry, Dan.
No, you're all right, mate.
Yeah. No, you're right. And you're right, Dan. I mean, just to go to Spain is great. I think in the past, we've done training camps. Is it in Portugal, things like that, where the fans weren't allowed to travel? It was all like behind closed doors sort of games. So the fact the club are doing this and allowing us to watch them in Spain is fantastic. But it's like you kind of get that and you want more, don't you, the next season?
Yeah.
Could we not do a Scandinavian country? Next time it'd be quite nice to sort of see us explore different, whether it be Sweden or Denmark or whatever, or even Belgium. With Casper's connections. Yes, exactly. Please, for Dan Marsh, Millwall Club, if you're listening, I know James Berrison is often listening to our channel. Anyone else involved in the club, if you don't mind, can you please do it early July? So Dan's missus will allow him to travel and go and watch Millwall abroad. So
and if he's got a holiday home in Spain or anything as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Accommodation would be through the roof, wouldn't it?
Hopefully to hold at least 6 people so we can all go from the podcast. That'd be very, very nice. Be very, very handy. So thank you very much for that. Disco, what's your thoughts pre-season? Friendlies? Are you kind of happy with what you've heard? And could we done a little bit better? I mean, we've got Bromley, we've got Sutton. It's a bit like last season, really, wasn't it? Similar.
Yeah. The most important thing is that you prep the players for the season, to hit the ground running. So look, they'll have their plan of what they want to do with that. It is, as Dan said, a little bit underwhelming. The same old. Nice to do the abroad again. And as somebody said there, the Forest game, if you remember, was a right old set to when they were moaning for bloody weeks after it that we were going in too hard on them. Tough luck, and didn't do them any harm in the season. Actually, did it? Set them up
it was a nice test for us, wasn't it? It was a nice test for us to compete against a decent Premier League side. And we weren't destroyed. We weren't embarrassed, was we? 2-1 was a good
side
game.
A very good side, Joe. As it
very
turned
good,
out,
very good side.
So hopefully, if we get something like that over there, that will be good. I would imagine we'd also have a decent final game before we actually go. I can't remember, who did we have when we came back? We had a game, didn't we? What was the last game?
Sutton?
Didn't we play somebody
over here?
I thought we had a bigger game over here before we actually went live.
We normally have a decent home one, didn't we, the week before?
Yeah. Was that Charlton? Yeah. Was that Charlton at home?
It was Charlton, wasn't it? Weren't we losing and we drew, or was that
we lost? Before? We were losing 2-0 when we come back to 2-2, didn't we? I think, unless I'm mistaken.
Brilliant.
But yeah, that was great. Yeah,
brilliant.
And they really wanted to beat us, didn't they, Charlton as well, which is even funnier.
Yeah. I think the other thing as well with going abroad, like you say, I'd love to go over to Spain and watch
Gillingham. There you go, Disco. Sorry, Disco. Gillingham. Was that the friendly Gillingham away, wasn't it? Yeah.
That would be really underwhelming, though, wouldn't it? Games like that. But I think going abroad is where, sadly, our reputation doesn't do us any favours, does it? I think there is a nervousness us going abroad because of potential issues.
Yeah,
and so look,
I think we were quite well behaved, weren't we?
Yeah.
Last time in Spain,
Yeah, we're on a
there's
journey,
lots.
Joe. We're on a
There's
journey,
lots of Forest. There's lots of Forest fans. I think if anything, I think the local Spanish team, Real Murcia, were the ones that were probably a little bit narky and gave a little bit back.
Right.
Surprisingly.
Oh, right.
But the Forest fans were very, very good and just quite chilled. And I thought it was just a real good vibe out there. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so look, not over the more important thing is the prep for the kickoff, and I'm sure Alex will. Wouldn't it be good to have Alex Neil having a good pre-season with them, getting in places, game plans for the year, and hit the ground running, as I say.
Yeah, cool, excellent. So, guys, we've hit the. As clockwork, we've hit the 90-minute mark. So, guys, thank you very much. We're into injury time. We ain't got long left. We're on 65 at the moment. Guys, let's get to 75 before we wrap up. We're going to say our goodbyes now. And I'm going to hand you over to Dan Marsh to give his final thoughts before we wrap up. Dan, appreciate your time, mate. Thank you for coming on this evening. Love hearing you talk. You talk sense and, obviously you're Millwall through and through. And, we appreciate everything you do for your columns when you write your stuff for the Daily Mirror, and of course your association with Millwall helps. And I love you when you come on our channel and you speak good stuff for us. I really appreciate it, mate. Any final thoughts from you?
No, thank you, mate. Thank you for the kind words, mate. Yeah, no, it's calm before the storm, and summer's always an exciting time. It's a frustrating time, like we said. We're already sort of getting fed up with the lack of football. So hopefully. When you think about how we ended January, it's criminal, really. We were going 100 miles an hour in January, and what is it, June the 3rd? And nothing's happened yet. It's criminal. But yeah, hopefully a lot of good stuff ahead. I'm looking forward to hopefully being a bit more involved with the channel this year once we've sort of got our moves sorted. But yeah, love coming on. I've enjoyed it. And thanks for having us. Hope it's been interesting. And hopefully be back soon. Cheers for having us, guys.
Good. Cheers, Dan, and great having you with us. Like I said before, hopefully we'll do a few more of these shows during the summer months and give you your Millwall fix to our listeners. And appreciate you coming on, Dan. Disco, thank you so much, mate, for giving your time this evening. Anything you want to say to our listeners before we wrap up and say goodbye?
Listen, great to be on with Dan again. Long time, Dan. We were on a very early one with Chris, weren't we, back in the day?
Number one.
At the beginning of last season. So great to be on with you. Make sure everybody tunes in next week because we're talking about shorts and socks next week. What are your favourite?
And then the season
the week after that.
Boots the week after that, exactly. We do boots after that. You're right.
It got quite a bit of action though. I quite like that. So great.
I'll be
Thanks
honest
for
with
everybody
you.
for listening.
I was a little bit cringed out at the beginning, Disco. You mentioned it to me earlier, but I tell you what, you were spot on, mate. It's a great talking point, and I'm sure the listeners enjoyed it as well. So cheers, that Disco.
No problem. Thanks, Joe. Good to see you, and thanks to all the listeners. See you all soon. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Good, guys. So thank you so much, listeners. Again, we try and put content out for you, and we're mindful that we don't want to just put things out and talk rubbish. That's why we didn't do it last week. We just felt we couldn't quite get enough traction there together. So this week we put something out. We're hoping to do something next week. Hopefully there could be some transfer rumours, at least give something to talk about. But guys, listen, enjoy the rest of your week. Work hard. Live for the weekends. And we'll see you hopefully on the next one. Thanks a lot and bye for now.
Hi, it's Steve Morrison here and you're listening to Chat with Chaps, chatting Millwall, come rain or shine.